Hey guys.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, hey.
Um, so I don't have too much to talk about today. I've been writing up the interface API and I got through, well, I was hoping I could figure out some more abstraction for the remote process that we use internally in the QA suite in Twothology. As I think that's going to play badly with Rook, but looking at it some more, I'm just going to shoot an email today talking about sort of the interfaces we need and what exists, and I may be able to narrow it down a little bit, but just to see what the options are before I try and make it a smaller interface by too much. But I think I'll get some of that stuff out today. So hopefully next week we may be able to get several people in to talk about a good way to go forward with Ansible and DeepC, and especially with Rook, because that's going to be the weirdest one, I think. And I copied my notes into the chat there if you want to look at what I've got so far. But that's
Greg, as soon as you get it out, what does it mean that, like you need to talk to other people and implement it in different suites?
Well, so we're just trying to set up interfaces for all the, because the tasks are like poking down into this, or the tests are like poking into some of this stuff directly, and I'm not entirely sure. And so one of the things some of them do is like look at the actual standard out from a process on a remote node and wait for it to close or something. And so I need to audit a little more carefully exactly what they're doing there. If it's just they're waiting to know when the process is done, or if there's something else happening, because some of them actually look at the output, but I think only a couple, and they mostly don't care. So you can probably sub in other stuff. But
Okay.
we need to know, we need to know what we can do to replace that in Rook, and and so that'll be a discussion. And then simultaneously with that, I also want to once we have a good, once I got a narrow interface, I want to, just on top of the stuff we have, actually build those narrower interfaces and make sure nothing breaks. Because it's a lot of Python code. You can't just say, oh, now there are no more calls to this function, because maybe there are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what I got and I've been up to in this area. People have other things to discuss today, or is it going to be a quick one?
I don't have anything. Do you?
I was hoping that Zach will join, and it's like he's not. So I'm in the middle of merging downstream SUSE stuff to upstream, and there is a list of PRs sitting on Tautology staff. Ceph Testing. So they gonna be reviewed. And since I was too busy for working on smokes, but I was able to create an image for CentOS in our OpenStack and was running dummy tests, and it was passed for CentOS 7.4 and 7.5. However, the rest is most of the tests from the smoke suite are failing for me in OVH. So probably I will need to have someone from you guys to help validate, if you can help, or to figure out what the reason of those failing, if they are just related, kind of dependency for CPL up, or
Sam told me a couple days ago that several of the smoke tests are just failing, and apparently have been for a little while. He's S-just on IRC, and I don't know. I think maybe he was going to try and fix them because he's working on a big refactor and needs to know that it worked. But I'm not certain. You could ping him and ask.
Also, seems like I had a question regarding the Ceph deploy. So, do I understand correctly that the most of the smoke tests are using Ceph deploy? For actual deployment of Ceph?
I know it's in there. I didn't think it was most of them. But I mean, Yuri, you mostly constructed this, right? I
No,
thought.
I wasn't the one doing the smoke. That's why I'm hesitant. I do know that we have some outstanding bugs, and you know, a couple of them definitely sub-deploy related.
I also talked to Nathan regarding this smoke suite, and he was saying, I'm not sure if he's correct, but he was saying that um, those tests in the smoke suite are running some extra tests which are not required for actual smoke test of the tautology functionality. Probably we need a new smoke test, actual smoke test, which will allow us to just test that all systems works for tautology instead of testing Ceph or something like this. But I believe we need some basic smoke test, not single node cluster, but maybe some simple test for 2 or 4 node cluster. So we can correctly check if the remote orchestra remote classes works correspondingly, etc.
Yeah. So there's a couple things there. So yeah, it would be good to have a smoke suite for just tautology, but I mean, a big part of tautology is that it supports what the Ceph QA suite is doing, and there's not, and since our interfaces are so loose, and even if they weren't, like writing tests to test all those interfaces that didn't actually involve Ceph would be a big thing. So I don't know that we're ever going to be able to test only tautology without it being a much more serious project. But yeah, it would be nice if we had some that like smoke tests that covered most of the stuff, or at least a few critical bits that we could just run separate from Ceph itself. Looking into Smoke Suite, there's like a couple directories in it. There's the one node directory, and that uses Ceph deploy. I see, for basically just the one, but it's basically just one test.
Yeah, I
But
see it too.
if you look at the basic folder, that's got a whole bunch of stuff that is deployed the normal tautology way, I think, as far as I can tell. So those basic tests are mostly not with Ceph deploy.
Well, and thanks. And there is another question small question. Whenever I get our SUSE downstream tests are working on upstream tautology, I will probably need for help and try to run our scripts. My script, which I'm working on for deploying tautology in a virtual environment. And probably who should I contact in order to try and set up and I don't know where should I start to work on this task in order to add to as a PR testing for this for tautology. Because right now I'm running on OVH on our instance on OVH, and I believe we need to, and I need to know more about how the OVH is integrated into CPR.
Well, best person would be David. And did you get access to Sepia?
Not yet. I'm just stuck on VPN access. But yeah, I will do this. But yeah, so and yeah, I was switched to other urgent stuff, so I didn't get it yet.
If you get access to Sepia, you will see. I mean, actually, we're trying to not to use OVH. So, is it your requirement to run in the virtual environments, or you okay to run in Sepia?
So there's two things. One thing is to deploy tautology itself, and it's what I'm trying to reach is to make it possible to run to deploy tautology to virtualized environment. So what it will give us, a parallel execution of the deployment test of tautology. So the idea is to deploy tautology to OVH and run some basic functionality on OVH targets. So it's a base. I mean, I think it's a better. It's first goal that we would like to have as a PR testing for tautology PRs. And a second, in order to check functionality, we of course can add some lab machines to the pedals database, but I'm not sure how can we can manage this. So we need to remove them from the central production version of pedals. So it's not interfere, because the tautology of the development of the task actually will have own instances of pedals, and correspondingly, if we run this in parallel, then we need to somehow select those hardware machines in order to test all these APMI and different fog stuff. But yeah, know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but get the access to Sepia. I think you may get some of your questions answered.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. But for the first time, I believe it's much simpler to run everything in the OpenStack in order to test the basic tautology code.
When you get Sepia access, you will be able to try it out. So the first step is you need to create a I guess ticket in I don't remember where it's called.
In Redmine.
Yeah, in Redmine, but it should be against Sepia.
Yeah,
Sepia.
I know. I was already started to go through this process. Just I interrupted on.
You need to provide your public key, and
yes,
that's about all.
Yeah, I stopped on VPN connection, so I need to configure VPN on my Mac or OpenSUSE.
Yeah, Okay. So Greg, getting back, I think we use self-deploy in system D test as well.
Oh, that could be, yeah.
What I don't understand in general, I mean, I wasn't around for smoke test. I mean, isn't smoke test supposed to be like small subset of like entire set of suites? What was the idea? Do you know?
Yeah, that's it's trying to touch the important pieces within trying to touch the important pieces within across all the suites so that you have a reasonable so that if you run it on a Rados change you have a reasonable confidence you didn't break something in the file system without noticing. Or vice versa or whatever.
So, but then, so system D actually runs only one load.
Yeah.
And then if I look at I guess basic runs bunch of different things. Is that like load that represents what you just described?
You mean the tasks in the basic directory?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about like maybe we should revisit like smoke as well. So if Sam is looking into that's actually great, because like we've had stuff failing for forever.
Now, just to be clear, what happened was he ran it and said, "Oh, the Rados team isn't eating their vegetables. Why is it failing?" And I said, "I don't know," but
I'm generally speaking staying away from smoke because I'm considering that it's mostly for like master tests and like developers looking into that and trying, but I see that like lots of stuff constantly failing and nobody's paying attention. So and Kure actually asked it in I think last meeting, why don't we run it, for example, on name branches? And I don't know why. Why wouldn't we run it on name branches?
I wonder who it was that did it then, because I was thinking this was basically your suite.
No, it's not my suite.
My memories are all jumbled up.
So if we need it, we need to clean it up to make sure that it runs. So and actually the way I run it on, for example, if you look at like how I schedule that, I force it to be on different distros, as opposed to we can like add distros and run it like how it's supposed to run. And then another thing is that I also forcing it on to OVH. And as I said, like Cure wants to access OVH, but generally speaking, we try not to use OVH for any like serious testing right now. Anyway, I'll try to remember, and I think I wanted to kind of dig into that, and probably will pin Sam.
The most recent master run looks a lot better than the ones from before. It failed on System D a couple times, and then on CFuse once, or not on System D, but in Ceph Deploy. And it failed once on CFuse, which is not great, but it's better than a lot of the earlier runs were.
They're looking at runs.
Yeah. Just then here's one that like it's the same one, but it failed 12. Was that all the Rook stuff or something? Nope. Holy crap! It's just noisy.
It is.
Wow. Ouch.
You see, by looking at runs, you don't see distros. So, for example, if you open like the ones that look like 25 past, that's like been failing for like forever. Those tests, like I think they are, by the way, Ceph deploy related.
Okay. Wait, so you think that what distro they're on is the problem?
You see what distro is on when you open it up. But when you look, like when you list everything under the suite, you don't see the distro. But when you look at something like 15 passed and 12 failed,
Yeah.
they are on rel.
Oh, okay.
They are on rel, and that's why, like, it's a lot of, and I think that people don't pay attention. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Huh.
And in fact, like when I'm looking at how, and I wanted to redo it, but it's not done yet. So essentially, when I scheduled them, I scheduled 1, 2, 3, 5 different lines, all on OVH. One is on 1604, which
Yeah.
is
Okay.
Rust, right? Another one is on rel 7.5. Another one is on rel 7.4. Another one on Santa 7.4. And another one on like nothing, which is like, I have no clue why. I vaguely remember that Vasu was requesting something like that, but I'm not sure whether he needs it or not.
Yeah. Okay.
One stuff is like rail runs weekly. Okay, I see. Anyway, we need to clean it up.
Yep. Anything else, guys?
You're there?
Nope.
Okay. Have a nice trip to Prague.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
See you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.
Next week, all.